Good morning.
Hey,
Hello.
I'm feeling great, and you're looking great. I gotta say, T-Dub would be very proud because T-Dub is always like, "Hey, gotta look good, feel good." You're doing it, brother.
Well, if we got to come on Converge, we got to match your energy. Once again, I will state this. I have not seen you wear the same outfit twice.
Well, there we go.
I've known you for 20 years.
Yeah, there we go. It's about the blends, man. You got to make it all blend together. So thank you, bro.
Coordinate.
Well, you know what? I mean, Omari's been dropping a little bit of hints about the BeLoved campaign. I know it's really about you being able to bring your lived experience into something that's going to be kind of disrupting this gun violence. But tell us more about what got you to say, first of all, this is how I'm going to do something for my community, and I'm going to go about it in this way. Tell us about some of the background that got you to say BeLoved is the way to do it.
All right. So remember, like maybe last year, our whole protest thing. During the protest, I had a lot of friends die, right? And that didn't stop all the way up until 2 days ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or yesterday. I can't remember. It's the same thing, right? But at this point, I realized that this is just a huge problem. We're all literally in this vortex of death. You know what I'm saying? We keep it light today, though, because it's Feel Good Friday.
Yeah, I feel you, though.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to keep more focused on the project. But really deep inside, you know what I'm saying? A lot of us, what's a good term for it? We dug through this every day. The 6% of us that are here in Washington State. We all go to work. We have birthdays. We live our lives. And some of those mornings start off with funerals. Some of those nights end with candlelights. You know what I'm saying? And somehow we still make it through. The reason why I decided to create this project along with Luther Lish, all right? It's because it's time to do something. We try a lot of things to end gun violence, but it's time to center it around us, what we need. Nobody ever asks us, what do you need when you lose somebody? What do I need when I lose somebody? We just go ahead and huddle together as Black folks, and this is us, inclusive. There's nobody on the outside that's like, oh my God, this is a tragedy, right? We're just numbers everywhere else. It's the Matrix out here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and that's basically the full reason why I started it.
Well, I gotta say, I mean, we mentioned it several times just on like the morning update show, like, man, sending you love because we knew you knew a lot of people out there as we're looking at it from our own perspectives. And oftentimes me and Omari talk about it too. You've seen us straight cry on air because it gets so sometimes overbearing when we realize like this is our community. These are people we know and love, people we grew up with, but we know that you have been really connected to this. And so we've talked about that over the time of like, people one thing after another, and oftentimes I gotta check with my brother, like, hold on, who was so and so, like, and he'll be like, oh, that was so and so's kid, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, the enormity of it. I think the way that it hits us, you're absolutely right that it's something that's shared in Black community pretty exclusively to a certain degree. And this is why, we're always encouraging and urging people in other cities in the county to care. And we saw with the data now, these shootings were not just centering around South King County or just Seattle. They were going all the way up north. They were hitting different neighborhoods. And so honestly, I think a lot more people are starting to pay attention to this. How have you kind of seen this kind of swell of people being like, but yeah, something needs to be done?
Well, it's just progressing over time. You and I both remember a Seattle that had gun violence, but we weren't losing 4 or 5 people in a week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We were seeing more hand fights than gunshots, right? We weren't waking up every morning and going, man, who passed today? And now it's something that I do every day. I wake up and I go, let me get my 10, 15 minutes no phone time before, business happens. And then I check my Facebook, which is a horrible habit. To all y'all out there, do not check your Facebook in the morning. But it's always that first check. You'll see a RIP post. A lot of times, like, I know I have my stuff going on and the people that are around me. But every day I wake up and I look at one of my friends who might lose somebody that I didn't know, and then I click on the page and I go, man, we had 178 mutual friends, right?
Mm.
And just because I didn't know that person doesn't mean the 178 people that I know that we're mutual friends with aren't dealing with that loss. You know what I'm saying? We're starting to become real desensitized to it, and there has to be a different approach. We can't treat it like there isn't a cause behind it, like there isn't a reason behind it that's deeper than, oh, that guy's bad.
Yeah.
That guy had $1 and that guy had $1 and that guy wanted that dollar, so he shot him for that dollar, or a leather jacket if you know the history of the Blood of Crips, right? You know what I'm saying? There's so much more. It's really a public health crisis, you know what I'm saying, where we have things like poor environments, you know what I'm saying? We're born without any equity, you know what I'm saying? Any real opportunity to get a loan, to move forward. We get poor education system. As my brother was talking earlier, even our healthcare, he was like, we're not even taught how to treat ourselves when we're pregnant. You know what I'm saying? We don't get any prenatal education. Is that the word? Prenatal? I don't got no babies yet.
That's right. You're right. But this is why it's a holistic approach. And so I love the fact that you were like, you know what? No, I'm not going to stand on the sidelines and just keep dealing with it the way that I've been dealing with it. And something you just said there that really struck me is that 178 friends, because then you got to reach out to them. You got to care for them. So it's a constant thing. It doesn't, even if you're right, if you don't personally know the person who is a victim of gun violence or something like that, you're still like, oh man, I got to check on my people because they knew them. I got to make sure they're good. One of the things that I experienced was, we lost somebody that was really key in community, man. Shout out to my big cousin Adi, like losing it and his son before him. That tragedy, the way that it hit my brother though, was like, I had to check in on my bro all the time because he was dealing with it in a way that was beyond what the rest of our family was dealing with it because of his personal connection. So I understand that 100%, that even though I had my own connection, right? And just miss being able to see him when we were out in the streets. I mean, we grew up together as next door neighbors and didn't even know that we were family for such a long time. But these are the kind of stories you hear in Black community often. And the fact that we have to be there for other people is always still that work on us, right? That kind of that energy that's on us. What are some of the ways that you're bringing your lived experience to the approach of the BeLoved campaign?
All right. So I'll just take the example that you just said right here. Lived experience. Adi, your big cousin, right? Adi, my big cousin. You see that connection right there? Right?
There we go.
You know what I'm saying? Not just that we're from the same neighborhood, right? But I literally grew up with that man. You know what I'm saying? Him, his brothers, everybody, right? You know what I'm saying? And that connection is deep, right there. And that's, can you re-ask the question one time?
No, I was just saying how you bring that lived experience to the approach of the BeLoved campaign.
I had to reground myself in my statement.
I know it.
But that lived experience right there, you know what I'm saying? That's not the only experience we have. I can literally probably name a whole nother name, just not from the neighborhood or from the neighborhood. And you'll go, man, I knew that person. Or you'll go, man, that was my guy. Or that was my homegirl, right? Because it's not just men getting killed, right? It's women getting killed. We lost a few at the end of last year. You know what I'm saying? Big candlelights. You know what I'm saying? And now, just because of our culture, we like to send people off with a celebration, right? And we're celebrating their legacy, right? It's time for us to be able to turn around that legacy that they're here for now, right? And protect them so we don't have to fly balloons in the air and they can't see them. You know what I'm saying? Tired of writing names on lanterns and throwing them in the water, right? Tired of spelling people's names out in candles, and that's just where it's at. It's just where it's at, man. It's so right there in our face, but we never think about the symptoms that actually affect us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So those are some of the amazing ways that you get to bring what you experience into something that's like, let's create a new approach around this. Let's actually disrupt all of this that we're experiencing. But you're doing it with an amazing team. You gave a shout out to your partner there, but I know there's several folks. I've been able to just kind of glance at the calls when Omari's on. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people that have come to the table to say, let me be a part of this because it's important. Even if they're not a Black person that's experiencing it in the same ways that you are, but they have their own experience and they connect with it in a different way. How is it working with this conglomerate of folks to bring what they experience with you, because they're connected with you in some way, but how is it to work with this amazing group of people?
Man, it's a family affair, man. So like, it's a community project. Like I'd be a horrible person if I took responsibility for this whole project, right? Because it's not me, right? It's not just me. It's not just Katoya. It's not just Luther. It's not just Prez, right? It's not just Converge, right? It's a whole, it's not creative justice. It's a whole community thing. And Katoya will be up here to list all the partners because there is so many of them, right? Like I said, it's a family affair, and working with everybody has been absolutely amazing. You know what I'm saying? It's funny because we're learning that we actually have more power in our hands than we think we do. We actually can move things within our community with our own hands, right? And for a first time in a long time, I feel like we actually get to say what we need to say in our voice in the way that we get to approach it. A lot of times, like me, I was an at-risk youth. It's no secret there. But throughout that, I remember the opportunities that I would try to go sign up for and being denied because I wasn't on the whole other end of the spectrum with a drug problem or with a child, right? So what that ended up forcing me to do is figuring out a way to survive instead of saying, oh, this guy, he's got his GED. He's kind of in college right now. He's homeless, so let's give him some help, right? Instead, they go, you don't have a baby. You're not on drugs. We can't do nothing for you. So now that pressure that's created in my life is I still got to pay for college, right? I still have to pay for the roof over my head. I'm still trying to figure out a way to move forward. But the only opportunity in front of me, in Jay-Z's words, are these white plates, And I think that's a good PC way to say that. Well, no, and as you can tell, I'm in good spirits today because I'm really just happy to be alive, right? I'm happy to see your face. I'm happy to know that we're just sitting in front of legacy, right? And I'm also very happy to know that we're starting the conversation of change. That's what these last few years have been about. And we're really starting this conversation, man.
Yeah. You know what? You're absolutely right. And I think that, people do need to understand how powerful they are, particularly when we collectivize our voices. It's something I'm constantly saying, and we've seen it. We've seen how people showed up in legislative session because they could get on Zoom, right? They don't have to go all the way to get childcare, go to Olympia. So people were showing up, and we see amazing, nation leading legislation being passed right here in Washington State. But it's because people cared enough to utilize some of their energy to pour into something that was outside of them, that was moving the needle. And, I really get inspired because we actually have seen this time and time again throughout our history in this country of, people bringing together their shared experiences and doing something to change it. I always go back to the bus boycotts, right? And I'm just like, that coordinated effort that it took to be like, not only are we not going to ride their buses, we're going to get our own, we're going to have carpools, we're going to have walking groups, we're going to do, it was so coordinated, but it took the energy of everybody to pour into it in order for it to work. And that's what I can see with this BeLoved campaign, that it's going to take like you said, there's a bunch of different partners, but it's because that's what it takes. And even when I think about this regional approach that we see around gun violence right now, again, it's bringing in everybody. It's got police chiefs, mayors, fire chiefs, all these community organizations. That's really, I think people have to wake up to the fact that it's not going to be on any one entity, any one person. This idea of like a savior, we talk about that in the Black community all the time. You know, they killed Martin Luther King, they killed Malcolm X, nobody knew what to do. No, at the end of the day, we have to understand that it's on us. And you are taking that approach, my friend. And I just want to say, I love you so much. And I'm so thankful that you're like bringing yourself to something that is solutions. About a year ago, I talked to you about an idea I had in my head around let's move from beefing to eating. Hey, coming your way soon at some point. But like, it's exactly right where you have to bring people together and bring their lived experience to the center of it to really figure out how do we disrupt this. So kudos to you and everybody over there at BeLoved.
Man, I appreciate
BeLoved.
that.
I wanted to say
Beloved
BeLoved
is
so
the
bad.
Black way.
BeLoved, yeah.
But you speak about the bus boycotts, right? I love it. Took the whole community, the coordination, right? And I will always say it's sad that the government was like, cool, you know what? All this collective energy, we'll desegregate the buses, right? Yeah. Because if it gets past that, we'll even take it to 84, Philadelphia, the last city in America to bomb itself, right? Because of John Africa and his movement, right? So it's great we got the buses, right? But now we're trying to get past the point of just having buses, right? We don't want you to burn down our city, is what we're saying, right? We don't want you to drop a bomb on us, right? When we get this collective energy and start moving mountains, right? Because even in Washington, what are we, 6% once again, right? That would be the form of a mustard seed. True. That would be the form of a mustard seed. And if we begin to move this mountain, right? From what I'm seeing, this mountain that might actually be able to move and be placed in a place where we can stand tall and look from the mountaintops, right? We might be able to say, man, this baby got an opportunity, because it takes all of us, right? It takes that public health approach, right? It takes everything that's happening here, the love of Black media and the Black stories, you know what I'm saying? It takes even outside the Black community, because it's a Black and brown BIPOC POC thing, right? And then if you really get deeper, it's an everybody thing, you know what I'm saying? It goes into class, right? If you don't have this much income, right, you are forced to figure out a way to survive, right? And it's so easy to acquire a weapon, you know what I'm saying? Not just a gun. In the 40s, 50s, 60s, you had bats, sticks, guns, brass knuckles, slapjacks. You know, I come from that era where I was taught how to use a slapjack. Nobody should ever have a slapjack. They're big and anyway. But yeah.
I agree. I think that the more we learn from our history, the more we're able to inform new decisions right now and create innovative and bold approaches. One of the things I've said here several times is when I look at the plight of society from an elder's perspective, right? Somebody like Dr. Mims, 94 years old. And I mention her name often because I get to have these intimate discussions with her that really share a different perspective for me that lets me know we're on the right track. You know, there are things that we're doing now, this BeLoved campaign, for instance, all of the work of all these amazing organizations to push for new legislation, policy, and advocating for, you know, community ownership of buildings like Africatown Plaza and this groundbreaking, all of that. The fact that somebody would be like, oh my gosh, we never even would have thought that we could have done that back in the day. We wouldn't even tried that bold approach. We wouldn't even have stepped out in the ways that young folks are stepping out right now. And so again, I just want to give you kudos for stepping into this space, for bringing your lived experience into it, but really your love for the community, because I know that that's what's really resonating here. And before I let you go, I got to ask, what made you say, or, you know, the group say, we need to call this BeLoved?
Well, you know, I'll be quite honest. There was a list of names going through, right? That me and actually Luther were sitting in the park chop, just going through. And then the urgency of the matter put the name to the background, right? It was like, we got to throw a name on this, right? And this is really what our community is. We're talking about love here, right? Even though it's a gun violence campaign, we are talking about love, right? We're talking about love from the beginning to the end, love for the people that we lost, love for the people that are here, right? We're talking about love. We're talking about love for even the bad part of our history, right? To the good part of history. We have to accept all of that in love, right? Took it, stamped it, moved forward, right? And as you know, it's been a year and some change process, right? But we're here now, right? And we're here out of love. And that's how the name BeLoved came out.
Well, hey, I gotta say, you are truly beloved.
So you,
yeah, absolutely. Erik, thank you so much for joining me today and giving us some background on BeLoved campaign. I'm really looking forward to how you guys disrupt all this, how you guys are utilizing your lived experience and bringing people in the ways that you are through the relationships you have. I'm just really looking forward to seeing how this shapes up. And I'm excited because on the end of this break, I get to talk to Katoya. Thank you so much for being with me.
Oh, yeah. And you just wait for that call because you're involved.
Hey, there we go.